Wow, we might have some lighting issues on today's walk. But that's what I thought I'd do. I thought I'd take you out for a walk with me. Oh my gosh, since I've been back re-letting my apartment, getting new tenants in it, I've barely been out for any of my walks. I haven't taken any of my bike rides. It's been a little depressing that way. And I almost didn't get out today because I thought, oh, I should record those videos. And then I thought, you know what? Some of the content that I planned today, I could just take you on a walk with me. And apparently, as you can see, I'm in a really shaded area of my back alley. I do live in an older neighborhood that doesn't necessarily have driveways everywhere, but an alley instead, and I kind of like that. It means you have two different access routes to your house. And granted, I can't pull into just an attached garage, right? There is no attached garage, but I do like the alley. I just like older homes, and I didn't used to when I was younger. And that's the point of this video. I did a retirement planning video a while ago. Oh my gosh, big old trucks going by. Sorry about the background noise. There's a little road construction near my home, so bear with me. I hope this ends up coming out okay. But anyway, back to being younger, right? Things change over time, but a while ago I did a retirement planning video in which I talked about getting started early with any sort of retirement plan. The fact that things as we get older change and the opportunities that were presented to us when we were younger might not be there. And that is why it is ultimately important to set up as much retirement and saving strategy as we can early on. And I thought I'd share with you my own journey so that you could take a peek and see how that worked for me. And I also have some stories from some of my friends. Before I get too far in this though, if while I'm going through this, you have some parts of your story to share, please comment below. I want to get to know what's going on in your life financially and the successes you've had and the drawbacks too. I almost thought about saying the word failure, but no, drawbacks. Because you know what? We can work really hard and get over those too. I'll say this too. Not everything that I'm going to share with you has been easy, but it's been worthwhile. So let's get on this journey together. Okay, I'm going to do this in a little bit of a chronological order because I have to admit I have had a very blessed career. We got a lot of that construction going on again. I don't know how much of my microphone is picking it up. I'm hoping not much, but we'll avoid it by going this way. Eventually I'll get to a more scenic area, I promise you. But I've had a very blessed career. I started out right out of high school, basically in a career type job. I went to vocational school for a while. I thought, you know what, this isn't for me. I then went and took some college courses and I thought, I just want to get a job. And by the way, this was in the 1980s where I think it was easier to enter into corporate America without the degree. And I just got myself like, well, let me start here. I wanted to work with money for some reason. And so I went to the banks at first because I thought, well, they've got a lot of money. They do. And they had really good hours. They pay like crap. And I had a hard time finding the right job there, like with my expertise just out of high school. I was looking at a lot of receptionist positions, and gosh darn it, I was too energetic and wanted to succeed for sitting there answering phones. I had a number of interviews, but I was like, oh, I'm willing to pick up any work and blah, 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 blah. I want to, do the best job. And many of them were like, we really just want our receptionist to answer the phone and be nice to our customers. So I thought, all right, that's not going to work out so great for me. So I ended up, oh my gosh, look at more road construction the way I wanted to go. I really thought I could take you on there's a bluff over in town here that overlooks the river and stuff. Now, granted, in the community I live in, it is more industrialized than some of the other scapes along the river, but still, it's a beautiful vista. I don't know if we're going to be able to make it there before this video is over with all that construction. Anyway, I digress. So the whole receptionist at a bank didn't work for me. And with my lovely high school degree, they did not think that I was ready to be even a teller. So I started looking at insurance companies. I thought to myself, you know what? Insurance companies have money. They might not have banker hours, but it might be all right. And I did get myself basically a secretary position there. I was an assistant in a brokerage office that did regional sales, and I did really well there. This is the thing, there were only two of us, two assistants and an office manager. And the office was downsizing, and they needed to get rid of one of the assistants. And I had only been there 6 months. The other woman, 2 years. They let her go. I didn't realize it then, but like my work performance ran circles around her. And so they kept me and let her go. I was so relieved because I really liked the job. What ended up happening is that office manager, after I'd been there about a year, she resigned. They gave me her job. So now I'm 19, no college degree, working as an office manager for this company in a regional office, right? I mean, obviously it's not a huge office. There were 2 or 3 brokerage reps and the one assistant and me. It wasn't like some big thing, but still. And I'll also say this. At 19, I was not a good manager. I was not. Oh my gosh, even the birds are loud. Can you hear that? Oh, wow. They want to get on video. Want to be a star too. Anyway, I was not a good office manager. The very first woman I hired, I just feel so bad. I expect her to be just like me. And not that I'm so great or anything else, please don't get me wrong. But I was clearly very proficient. And it wasn't fair or right of me to have that same level of expectation. So anyways, eventually she got fired. I was a 19-year-old office manager. I was not ready for that. And that's the other thing. Even though youth gives us some sort of advantage in a career path, it doesn't necessarily mean they're the best or the most suitable person for the job. Anyway, fast forward again. It's a couple years later. I've been the office manager for a while, and one of the brokerage territories opens up. I think it was 2 years later. Maybe it was just 1 year later. I can't recall. But anyways, I got that territory. And they wanted to consolidate, so they decided to give me the entire state and let both of them go. Like, now I'm like 21. I'm capping out Social Security. I don't have a college degree yet, although I had been taking college courses because my company would pay for them. And I'm living high on the hog. It was great. A few years later, I was also promoted to sales manager. So a few of these brokerage reps were under me. If you can't hear that, it is a helicopter. I don't know if you can see that. Oh boy. I didn't realize there'd be so much activity. I thought I was getting out here early enough. But anyway, so I was a sales manager over a 5 or 6 state area. I quickly realized that in that position, I was working a lot harder and I wasn't making any more money. So I went back to being a brokerage rep. I left that company after a while. I went to an investment firm. I made more money there. And all of this, mind you, is before I'm 30. And because I skipped out on those college years, or I could skip out on those college years, I don't think that same career would be possible today without college. But nonetheless, that essentially meant that I jumped into all of this earlier than a lot of my counterparts and had a far earlier success. Now, I've shared this in the other retirement video, but I started saving right away. As soon as I was eligible for the 401k, I was saving. But I'll also say this, I look back on it now and I wish I would have saved more. I truly wish I would have saved more because I thought the gravy train would go on and on and on. And I also believed back then that if you worked hard and you did the right things, and by right things I mean you considered other people, you treated them with the fairness that you'd want, you paid your bills, you did the right things, that you would be rewarded for that. I found out later in life that's not the case. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, so fast forward again, it's about, so my best earning years were in the 1990s, at least compared to inflation. Are you with me? And this was then in my 20s and early 30s. Fast forward, 1999, I start my own business. In my own business, by 10 years later, I was earning twice as much money as I was when I left my other career, close to twice. So this was great, and this is what I thought that I would be able to do in my career. During that period of time, though, I also got a divorce, which meant that I had to split all of the things that I'd earned. Now, everyone's divorce is a little bit different. Everyone's marriage is obviously different. You might be thinking, well, how much did that cost you, Renee? Because after all, you probably had an earning partner who was comparable to you. No. And the way divorce laws work in my state, and really most states now, is it doesn't matter if you're male or female, which is fine. If you're the bigger earner, you have to share more. I had to give him parts of my retirement plan, which ultimately wouldn't have been a problem if he also would have cared for our children. But I was still the person in our household caring for the home, the children, the work. It really is very unfair for most women out there. And I'm hoping going forward that will equalize a little bit. I don't know if it will when we have misogynists like Donald Trump in office and the acolytes that follow him. But I digress. And ladies, stick to your guns, and men, be fair. Come on, do your part. Just ridiculous. So I also bought him out of our home, and that happened in 2007. I knew that I was buying him out high, but I was the person who could afford to keep the kids in the house, and that was important to me. And I knew the market might crash. I had no idea it would crash as hard and for as long as it would. I also had no idea what was coming for my business. Now, by 2007, when I bought him out, I was now turning 40. And I will tell you, this is also the age that I think it's important that you stay focused on. Because in my experience, for the vast majority of us, especially women, the 40 mark begins the downhill of our career possibilities. Now, that isn't universal. Clearly, some people do exceptionally well into their 40s. They might even start a career in their 40s. I just had a friend who bought a business in her 40s, and she'll do fabulous in it. So it isn't universal, but it certainly was for my experience. So I buy him out of the house, the market crashes, he got his equity. I ended up losing mine. The state changed the rules for the business that I'm in. The regulations changed, and it made it far less profitable in my line of work. And in the initial years, I made some mistakes. I tried to do things the way that I had in the past that would work. I would spend a lot of money on advertising and marketing. I would be doing mailers instead of email. I wasn't focusing enough on SEO, search engine optimization. I didn't even know how to do that back in 2007, 2008. And as a result, I was spending all this extra money and was not getting the extra revenue in again. And I never have since. And 2007, well, this change was in 2010. And my worst year was 2012. So we're looking at over a decade later, 13 years, I've never made the same amount of money again. In fact, the money that I make today and the money that I've made over the last decade is the exact dollar amounts that I was earning in the 1990s. Now, in the 1990s, this was great money. This was money that was like, capping out Social Security, going past that number, right? Today, it's still okay. I'm still all right, but it's not the same. And I'm on those last few years of saving for retirement. And this is after basically having raised my kids alone and having to give some of my wealth to my ex-husband. It hasn't all turned out exactly the way that I would want it. And this is why I say, the earlier you are, take advantage of all of it. You never know what the future's going to bring. And you out there might be wondering, well, Renee, why didn't you just go back out and get a job? In fact, I just thought about that. I got to share that with you too. I did. But when you're a woman in your 40s, your appeal on your resume and sitting across the interview table from somebody is not the same as when you're in your late 20s or your early 30s. Just not the same. Because I remember interviewing those people. And I remember thinking what I thought when I would interview those people. Especially someone like me, a business owner for over a decade now? And now you want a job with us? What happened at your business? And not only that, because I could explain that away, don't know if they would believe it or not, that it was a regulatory change. But this is the other thing. I'm used to running everything on my own. I'm not used to listening to somebody. So when I would actually finally get interviews, when people would look past the fact that I was probably in my 40s, they would also consider the fact that I was entrenched in my own beliefs about how an organization should work. So, yeah. I couldn't find jobs at that same income level. And it was way harder to even just get the interviews. So, this is my message. To those people listening to this who are younger, people, get busy and take advantage of everything you can in those younger years. Absolutely. And to those who are older, like me, try to find little niches where you can earn a little extra money. That's what I'm doing here on YouTube. Now, granted, for me, this isn't so much about the money as much as sharing something that I think is valuable to people. I end up having a lot of experience now that I hope will help other people. And this is my other thought. Boomers and Gen Xers, part of the reason that millennials and Gen Z do not want to hire us is because we lost it, people. I mean, good gravy. We're putting them down all the time. Well, I'm not, but a lot of you are. That they don't know how to manage their money, they're lazy, they're this, and people, they could be your boss. We all got to try to get along here, and we all got to look at things from the perspective of, how would I feel if I were in that instance? I don't know, that's just my thought. Although I got to tell you, some of the boomers and some of the Gen Xers, I don't like your style so much. And by the way, I know you know this, millennials and Gen Zs, but some of you are lazy. Now, there were also lazy people who were Gen X and boomers. Are you kidding me? That is just like part of every generation. Unbelievable. I also want to say this. That's my story, but I have a whole bunch of friends who have similar stories. A friend of mine just lost her job. She's about 45, can't find a replacement for the same amount of money. And she was scheduled for a surgery right before she lost her job and does not know if she can afford HIPAA to continue her health insurance plan. We really got to do something about this health insurance crisis. Here's another one. I have a friend who's been a teacher all of her career. But everywhere she ends up getting a job, they end up wanting to hire in not necessarily someone younger, but someone that they've worked with before. There's so much nepotism out there, so that even if you're really good at what you do, you might not be accepted in. If you have a life story that fits in with this, please share it below. I'd love to hear from you. And I respond to absolutely every comment. I'd also love it if you subscribed. Certainly if you kind of like this sort of topic, because I would love to see you back here again. And if you like this video, other people will get it. What you'll see beside me somewhere is going to be some videos on retirement planning and saving strategies. They'll help you out through this journey. And I'll see you back here soon.